make the argument that there are not people out there who discount others on the basis of labels or tags that have been applied to those individuals. Sometimes you'll see people who, in a very short amount of space, will judge somebody and find them wanting and tag them in a certain way in order to make that happen, whether it's liberal or conservative or whatever it happens to be. I want to talk today on the idea of discounting others on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 27th of March of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, the podcast, YouTube, BitChute, CloudHub, my Facebook page, the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, mine's minds.com, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, wherever else you happen to be finding me. By the way, Gab seems to be misbehaving for me. I don't know if that's just me, but that's what seems to be going on at the moment. But I want to talk again, the subject would be on discounting others, and I want to go ahead and go through my notes in order to, as usual, sort of set the stage for what we're talking about today. I'm the kind of person who likes to hear what others have to say, even those with whom I'm very likely to disagree. If nothing else, it helps me to form arguments against what they put out there. Other times, of course, it helps me to adjust my position, having learned I was incorrect in some facet or maybe even my entire perspective on something. That said, not only do I agree with Ian Crossland's perspective when he says you don't have to sniff every pile of poop to know it smells, I actually would like to expand on it somewhat. When there's something you think you might like, you not only might smell it, but you may have to taste it as well before you decide it's worth your time, or do whatever would be normal for that particular thing, right? To the fellow on Tim Pool's show who decided that people label others so they don't have to listen to them, I would say this. If someone starts talking with whom I think I might disagree, it's my practice to listen to them in order to determine whether or not that's actually the case. Even someone who seems far out there. By the way, Ian Crossland seems far out there a lot of times, but sometimes he'll put something out there that I'll think, yeah, actually that's a good point. And that's also true for others. I forget the name of the one guy that everybody likes to pick on, even though he turns out to be right far too much of the time. It'll probably come to me in a minute here, but the point is, there are people out there that I go, that dude's out there, but periodically they present something that you hear that you go, yeah, that's actually correct. I may hear people say, so-and-so is actually a leftist. But I normally do listen to Tim, even though he often calls himself left-leaning. Truth is, missed something there. I acknowledge there are some perspectives Tim holds that are leftist in nature. There we go. Got what I missed. Truth is, most of the time, they're more wishful thinking on his part than anything else. Yeah, that would have sounded kind of funny if I'd have done it out of order, so you'll have to forgive me there. He'll say something like, I like the idea of universal health care. He'll say something like that. I like the idea of universal health care. Then he'll follow that up with, but I've never seen anybody make it work. Maybe some folks would be inclined to call Tim a leftist. As I say, I know he thinks of himself that way a lot of the time. For my part, where I recognize he would love for certain ideas and ideals of the left to, quote, work, end of quote, he seems to generally readily acknowledge one important thing. They don't. The point is, though, I could have heard Tim or others talk about himself or be talked about as a leftist and, quote, shut him down, end of quote. I could have, but I didn't. See, for the most on the right that I know, that's just not how we work. As I see things, you can even be a left-leaning person, even maybe far left-leaning. That doesn't mean you have nothing valuable to contribute to the conversation. That's not what that means. Am I trying to tell you there's nobody out there who will discount you without good cause? Of course I'm not. There are people who will discount you for the most foolish of reasons. I'm not even trying to tell you there are no right-leaning folks who'll do that, particularly people who are couched as, though I don't really agree with this couching, as far-right. That said, some of us, many of us I think, will listen long enough to decide whether or not you bring anything new or different to the discussion, and by the way, we'll try to continue to listen for such things if we have the opportunity to do it. We won't just discount you because you get labeled in some particular way. I'm going to tell you something that will clarify why this is true for a lot of folks. It's certainly one of the reasons it's true for me. If you are right-leaning, you will often be discounted out of hand by people who don't like right-leaning perspectives. I've heard Dan Bongino say any number of times that people have been, quote, forced, they really weren't forced, but forced to listen to him by a roommate or something. And they've gone, you know what, I mostly agree with this guy. I heard Tim Pool talk about the fact that a bunch of leftists were cursing themselves over the idea that they were liking things that the Daily Wire, who tends to be pretty rightist in their perspective, were putting out there in terms of entertainment. They decided they liked that stuff. The reality is, and something that Dinesh D'Souza's wife, Debbie, I think it is, often points out, is, look, there are a lot of people in Texas who are Hispanic, who are Mexican or whatever, right? Hispanic somewhere. And they think that they're leftists. But if you actually sit down and talk to them about their perspective, what you're going to find out is they're not. They're conservative. They're very conservative in what they say and what they do. They don't really want a leftist slant on life. They want, in fact, if you listen to them, a rightist slant on life. The point is that there are a lot of people who are already confused about what it means to be a particular thing. And so when somebody gets pigeonholed in a particular way, a lot of times they'll say, oh, that's a terrible person or whatever. And if they actually took the time to listen to them, what they would find out is not only are they not terrible, but 90% of the time we agree on most of what they have to say. Okay? And this is why I think for a lot of people on the right, they are not prone to do the discounting others thing on the basis of such tags, right? They hear somebody say this person or that person is a leftist, and they go, oh, yeah, and they go and they listen to them. Sometimes people like Bongino or Tim Pool will, quote, produce the receipts. They'll put something out there that, as that person talking or writing something, and it will be something that makes it very clear that that person is what they say they are, at least in that instance. Excuse me, I'll just tell you that even in that instance, I'm not just going to discount that person and say that they can't have any reasonable positions. I'm not doing it. I don't like Ilhan Omar. I don't like AOC. But I have heard them both say reasonable things. Okay? I don't like Nancy Pelosi. But every once in a great while, that stop clock is right. Okay? You just need to know that. And so I don't just tend to discount people as a result of the labels that people will throw on them. And then let's face it, a lot of right-leaning people will say things and you'll go, no, dude, lady, that's wrong. You're saying something and what you're saying is, forgive me, but horse manure. It's fertilizer. It's not real, it's not meaningful, it's not good, and it's not right. So maybe there are people out there that will discount people out of hand, and maybe it's a bigger number than I think it is, but it's not the people among whom I find myself most of the time, as far as I can tell. If you show them so-and-so is right, they're saying the right thing, they're doing the right thing in this case, they may be loath to admit it, but they will typically admit that that is the case. Okay. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Sunday, the 27th of March of 2022. That means it's the beginning of that Christian week for a lot of folks out there. That's how they account things. Most people account tomorrow, Monday the 28th of March of 2022, to be an example of the beginning of a standard work week. I just wanted to thank everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That's the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on minds.com, MINDS, on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, primarily there, on Parler, on Gab, if you can get it. Right, like I say, right now it's not working for me. I'll start posting again as soon as I'm able to do so, on Twitter or wherever else you happen to be finding me. And the subject for today has been discounting others, and I hope you get the idea what I was trying to say today. Tomorrow I'm going to use an interesting topic. It is same data, different day, and I want to point out that there are a lot of people who are flip-flopping, going in either good directions or bad ones, and that really needs to stop, and that they need to do something akin to the Bongino rule, where they actually start to wait and really see how things work out before they make their statements, because I think that's a lot of the problem. But anyway, I'll discuss that more tomorrow, as I say. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Monday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Sunday, the 27th of March of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching today's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back tomorrow to check out the next one. Remember, on various platforms, primarily Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub, and the audio podcast, you can subscribe to my content. For the audio podcast, you probably want to use Apple, Google, or Spotify. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. In order to find me on those platforms, you can go to the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, and CloudHub. You can also get to my content on Facebook by finding the Kurt's Religion and Politics page there. Minds, MINDS.com, where you will find me at the Kurt's Religion and Politics group. And Kurt's Religion and Politics.locals.com as well. You can look there. I post my daily video on various social media sites, really only about 3, Parler, Gab, and Twitter at present. I am at KP Schubert on each of them, and you can find me under them, and you can find the videos under me. You should be able to find my podcasts on Google and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's also on podcasts.kpschubert.com. That's podcasts with an S. .kpschubert.com. If you're looking for me on various of the podcast sites, you probably want to search Kurt's Religion and Politics, not the Daily Summation. Keep in mind you can subscribe to my content on various places that I put it. All constructive feedback is welcome. You can like, dislike, add a rumble, or give whatever feedback is available on any of the platforms that you can do such things. You can also add a comment on what I put there. Unless you're advertising or doing something that I believe will harm others, I'll leave your comments out there even if I don't agree with or understand them. I will try to let you know I've seen them when possible and may reply if I feel it's reasonable, appropriate, and possible, of course. Thanks again for viewing this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. Don't forget to come back again for tomorrow's as well.